It's more along the lines of like people actually have very hot burning issues, like problems and pains, right? And you're like, they're gonna buy something. I just really try to emphasize, what am I gonna do to capture that attention? Like where their brain just like salivates over what's this kid doing right now. Having a good product makes everything easier.
Hey guys, Alex Fedotoff here, and today we have an amazing conversation with one of our clients. This guy is Savage. He joined our Brand Builders Academy program. He took his business from
like 30K the whole year to over 200K within 2 months.
2 months.
2 months and like a week and some change.
Let's go.
Incredible. Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me. This is Austin, great entrepreneur from United States.
Thank you. Thank you, Alex.
Thank you for joining me. So, and we're here in Budapest at Elite Mastermind. We just finished the event. Did you enjoy the event?
Love the event. Like rubbing shoulders with everybody was one of the most just insane environments I've ever been through. Because it's like, you know, you're online and everything, and you see people, and like you see your coach and you see the students on school and stuff, but then you meet them and it's a whole different perception of reality. It changes my view on money, like the whole ecom culture, everything. And then the speakers, the value these guys provide, like just dropping value back to back to back. Like I cannot wait to get home and rewatch those slides and just get like the exact like highest leverage values, like highest leverage steps right there in front of me to just bang it out right there. And the amount of answers you get, like every question that I had leading up to this point was answered within like the first couple hours of being here. I mean, it's incredible. Like these guys are top notch, like savages. Like they are just next level, all of them. And it was amazing how many young people there are too. Yeah, that was another thing that kind of really, I thought it would be like everybody would be way, way older, but they're all like relatively same age, like 20s. So it's like a very fast moving industry. Yeah, sorry.
And how old are you, sir?
I'm 21.
21 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah. You know, society and the industry overall is very young. You know, there's a lot of like young, sharp entrepreneurs that just kind of, and just seeing your progression over the last few months, it's tremendous. Like you just pretty much like from my understanding at the beginning of your journey, there's so much more, you know, to go for you. Like, and it's just incredible. Like I see yourself like running $100 million business a few years.
Yeah. You know, I remember when we got on our first live call probably about 2 months ago. And that was when I was just starting to run ads. Like, I mean, this was like my first week of running ads. I had asked you, I was like, Alex, how long does it take to get to like 100K a month? And you were like, and you kind of just did a quick calculation. You were like, a few months. You're like, and I was just like, there's no way. Like my brain couldn't even perceive that yet. And then it's like, you hit that threshold and you're like, he's completely right. Like you were dead on the money. Like your exact time estimation was incredible. You were like, if you execute fast enough, a few months would be very doable. And then it took off from there. Because it was like, it gives you the confidence because you've walked that path so many times, you've seen it so many times. Like you can speculate on things, right? But you just don't know the actual time horizon and the steps to get there. So having that like mentorship is probably like undoubtedly the best thing I've ever invested in.
Thank you, man. Thank you for the trust. So take me back to the beginnings of your journey. I know you've tried different things. You kind of like had mindset shifts where you didn't want to like do, you know, what most people do, just have like a regular, you know, 9 to 5, and you decided to get into like entrepreneurship. Walk me through your journey and kind of how it started for you.
Okay, so very, very early journey. When I grew up, I really did not have much money at all growing up. Like and it felt even, how do I put this? When I grew up, I lived in a pretty nice suburban area, but my family didn't have a lot of money, like at all. So the thing is that like everybody around me had money, and they all had like these fun events to go to and clothes to wear and things to do, and like they had like pools in their yard and like all this fancy stuff. But then I'm like, it was like an even further gap from my environment to where I was. So it just expedited how much I really wanted to push myself from that point. Well, at that point I was just young, and you know, you just soak up a lot of I guess like traumas. I hate that word, but like the traumas that you just experience. And I just remember like money was always something that was like top of mind for me. It was like, I want like just regular clothes, like not from Goodwill. I just want to like eat food that's not like off-brand and nasty. Like it was just the most basic things that I remember ever since I was young, I just craved, because it was like everybody else had it and then there's me. And it really made you feel like an outlier. Like it made me feel like an outlier for a very long time, up until like midway through high school, when I found the ability to make my own income through sales for the most part. So that was like childhood stuff. But then also going into that whole school situation, I was the class of COVID, I call it, because my last 2 years of high school, I wasn't even in school. Like they just kicked you out. And that was like a big, I was like, this is like the most, my societal viewpoint like broke at that point. Like everything, I questioned every single thing that I encountered. Because think about it, what you're told your whole like childhood, do good in school, become something, go to college, yada da. And then it's like, okay, well now the one thing that you said is like the most essential, you just deemed non-essential. Like you literally just took school away when you closed down everything that's a non-essential facility. And that was when I really questioned like just everything that I could imagine to question. And that was when I started reading like Napoleon Hill a lot. I read him a lot. It was just
like which books? Outwitting the Devil?
Every single one of them.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
I can't think if there was a book I don't know of, I'll definitely read it. But yeah, Outwitting the Devil, Think and Grow Rich. Those were the two that really helped me, especially Think and Grow Rich, just because it highlighted the fact that Rich Dad Poor Dad is another one. And that was the one that really highlighted to me, like just standardized education is not gonna create financial freedom in the way that most people think it would. And that was when I really was like, yeah, this college thing isn't it. And that's when I was like, all right, so this entrepreneur side of things, how does this work? And that was when I just started looking up like the basic stuff. How do you get rich? How do you retire young? How do you invest? Yada da. And I started changing my information diet a lot. And actually that's a very underestimated thing, I believe, is actually having not just consuming crap. Like we have the internet, like you're on the internet. We can watch YouTube videos. We can watch Tony Robbins. We can watch Robert Kiyosaki, all these guys that are making fantastic content, especially the younger you are, the longer time horizon you have to apply it. So like the younger you're willing to consume it, I think just the more valuable it becomes, because you can sharpen these skill sets. But that's kind of kind of digressing from the question. So
no, I mean this is very good point. Like I think this is also what I have found. With some of our most successful clients. The ones that are doing $5-10 million per month, is that they're extremely selective with, first of all, the information they consume, and second with the things that they actually execute on.
Yeah.
Like so, for example, they might gather 20 different ideas. They come to the event, or we have one-on-one calls with them. They ask me specific questions. I give them feedback. I tell them, okay, so you can do this, this, and this. And out of those ideas, they kind of like analyze all that information, they process it, and they identify one or two things that are most impactful and most applicable to them at a particular point of time. So they're very good at just processing information, getting the essential ones, essential action points from it, versus majority of people, they just get 100 different ideas, and they don't have that prioritization, kind of like process. They try to execute on random things that might not be even applicable to their business or at a particular point of time, because on every stage of the business, you face different challenges as business grows through different growth stages. And they would try to execute on something that is not even applicable to them. They're just like, oh, I like this idea, let's execute it. Like, you're not even ready for that idea. Your business is not ready. You have to put the foundations first. You have to do this, this, and this first. And only then you can do this, this idea. But it's, they don't have that in place. So you have kind of the mindset that is similar to our clients, where like you're very selective with information you take, but also from that information, you take even more like essential information that is applicable to you at a particular point of time. So you fix a specific constraint in your business.
Right. And going back to the information diet, so that was a very good breakdown of like how successful clients manage information. And that kind of going back to when I started being more selective with information and realizing it's a very legitimate like what these guys are saying, they're not just saying it to say it. Like they've actually experienced this and they've lived this lifestyle to get them to a financial point where they're at. And when you go broad, like reading books is really good, I think, when you're young, especially, because it gives you just a broader horizon and your brain starts to play with the idea of like, what if I could be financially free by 30? What if I started a business that I really love and I think it could actually change, my customers' lives as well as like my family's financial situation, and you just start thinking of possibilities. But you go broad, and then, like you said, you kind of funnel in on the information, because at first it's like, okay, invest. Okay, what does that mean? Provide value. What does that mean? All that stuff. And then you start realizing, okay, well, provide value means what? Like just help somebody, solve a problem for them, right? Just help them with a desire they already have. And that was where my brain started going at that point, was like, okay, what can I help somebody with? And that was when I got into online personal training, right? Because at that point, I started to realize attention was very valuable. And it wasn't like I knew attention was valuable. I just always seen like, influencers had a lot of status, and they had a lot of like you just kind of see, at that time I was associating big followings with a lot of income. And I was like, okay, well, why don't I just keep doing what I'm doing? Because I didn't even mention this, but I was really big into like bodybuilding at that point. Like I was going to the gym like twice a day, like eating, just slamming food, like everything I could do to get bigger, because that was like one thing that I thought I did have control over. Because like I was saying, when I was younger, finances was not something I felt like I had any control over. And there was just a lot of things that I felt were way out of my control, but I could control my physique. And I was like, okay, well, let's really hunker down on that. And I just started posting like on Instagram. And I would get friends from school asking me about it. Like, what do you do for this? How do you do this? Why do you do this? Yada, da. And I was like, what if I just like crank this up to 10? Like, what if I just start posting like 3 to 4 times a day, like on this feed, and then like multiple story posts every day? And people started getting more and more curious and questions. And then it became almost like a little bit status, because it was like, oh, now this guy's gaining a following. So now it was like the social proof of people around me. Like, this is like, what's this guy doing? Because like I never really had, like, I never shown like a big entrepreneurial spirit. I've always been like relatively monotone about it to like people in the beginning stages, because it was like people resented to have. Actually, no, I take that back. When I started reading, I started telling all my friends about everything. Like I was like, have you guys heard about like DCA investing, like just dollar cost
Averaging?
Yeah. And they were very resentful of it. So when I started to get that following and things started to like go in the right direction, it was like, this guy's right. Like they were like, he's actually right and he's doing something and it's actually adding up. Like, and that was when it actually became more resentful, because now it's like, it's an undeniable proof that like, I don't want to be like, oh, I was right, but it was like, it's shown that I was doing something right, and it started to prove something going in the right direction. And then from the coaching thing, I was like, okay, let's just crank this up to 10. Started posting like crazy amounts, like multiple times a day, and I didn't even know how to monetize it. I got to like 10,000, like 10K followers, and I was like, okay, well now what? Like, does the money just like fall in your lap? Because that was like my whole idea, was like you get numbers and then the money just like follows right through. And I was like, okay, this is definitely not it. So right before I went out for Christmas to go see my family, I got on a call with a guy. His name was Nick. And he was like, hey, what do you think about selling a coaching service? And I was like, for what? Like I genuinely was like, just coach people through the internet? He's like, yeah. And I was like, he's like, how do you, and he asked me like how I work out and all this. He's like, we could definitely get this down pat for a system to like work to train clients. Because that's what he did. He did like, he trained people to, make services or whatnot, service-based business based off their following. And I was like, that sounds like a really good idea. And he was a fantastic salesman, by the way. So fantastic. So this guy, this was like 1 something in the morning, my time. And I think the course, it was like 20, his coaching, he charged like $2,800, I want to say. And it was like almost all the money I had. Like it was literally all the cash money I had. And I was like, yeah, let's start making 10K a month, because that's what he sold me on. That was like his whole thing. Let's get to 10K in 90 days. And I was like, oh yeah, let's do that. Like, and he really nailed down the, what do you call it?
The offer?
Yeah, the offer, and like getting that desire. He really built that desire. So I was like, okay. I drove to the bank that night. Literally drove there. Went from my room at like 1 a.m. Drove to the bank, dropped the money in, called him, put the money through the processor, and we started then. And that was like the first investment of myself in like entrepreneurship. And long story short, I didn't really like that business model because it was like I put all this work in to get a client, and then it just starts. Because it's like now you have to train them for like 3 to 6 months or whatnot. And I was like, nah.
And most people probably won't even follow, right?
And that's what it started to kind of pan out to. So, and then I started to look at like, I can never really detach from this. Like I'm the brand, you know, and I'm like, I just seemed like I was kind of going to get myself in a trap if I stayed down that route. So I kind of pushed away from the whole like coaching side of things for at least that. So I was like, okay, now let's get into physical products. And I had a really crappy car truck when I first started driving. So I learned a lot of mechanics. And I was like, okay, well, what if I flip cars, right? Because then once you sell it, and that's it. And I was like, okay, let's do that. So then I bought this like beat up, I mean like down bad 350Z Nissan. And I completely refurbished it, like brought it all the way from like just like barely operable. And then, but it had the main components were great, like the engine, the transmission, all that, fantastic shape. It was just a bunch of like little stuff that added up to where like the average person would like, there's no way they'd be able to take that car and drive it that day. There's no way. So I fixed that up. That turned out to be. How much
money you invested in the car?
I think buying the car, it was like $2,800. And then this is where it gets tricky because then I started to have to keep putting money in, more money and more money and more money and more time. And I was doing the coaching.
Then you wanted to make it like Fast and Furious kind of like?
Yeah, Fast and Furious. Yeah. Actually, this is how I got out of coaching because I bought the car while I was doing coaching because I thought I could do both of them at the same time. And then the car, it kept taking up all my money because I was doing sales on the weekend. So I did have some sort of income coming in, but not much, just enough to literally live and build the skills as an entrepreneur. And then I was putting all that money back into this car every single week. And eventually I was like, I have to get this car done. Like I have no money left. I mean, zero. And it was like, okay, well now I have to get this car done. Like I have to, there's no choice. And I just was like, I told Nick, I was like, man, this is what I'm going to do. Like I can't, I'm not doing this anymore. I've got myself in a bad situation. I got to pivot out and get this finished up. And that car ended up taking like 6 months, full effort, like every day, sun up, sun down. And it was just god awful. And it was like everything that could go wrong went far beyond wrong. I ended up getting the car, like I said, completely as it needed to go. But money-wise, it was like around $2,800, $3,000, whatever for the car. And I ended up having like right under $10K total in it. And then from that point, I sold it. I mean,
you made profit?
If we're looking at like how much money I put in parts in the car and then how much I sold it for, I guess. But I mean, you have to think like that's 6 months of just every day, Monday through Friday effort. So like maybe if you look at dollar in, dollar out a little bit, but not in terms of time or anything of that nature.
So as you were going through all of these like different stages, you try different things, you try online coaching, then you got this car, you dedicated a lot of time to it. Like was your family supportive of all of these different projects that you were doing? Or they wanted you to go like a standard path, which is, college, university, get a job, work for 40 years, retire, standard path?
I think I live with just my mom. I think she just really seen the drive. Like I really was like, from the point where I started that coaching thing to the point of that car, I mean, it was like every single damn day, sun up, sun down, until like every minute I could put into it, I was putting into it. So I think she was like, he's not kidding about this whole like financial freedom thing. And she didn't really mention college much at all. She didn't pressure it a lot. But I would say if I didn't put in that effort, she very much would be like, you're getting your shit together, you're going to college. But because of that effort, she didn't really push it at all, no. She was actually pretty supportive of it. I mean, she let me live in the house for free. She was on the train. Yeah.
I think it's so important to have someone in your life, especially as you're going into like uncertainty, to have at least like one person that believes in what you're doing You know, could be, you know, your partner, your spouse, could be a friend, could be your mom, could be your dad, but at least like one person, because sometimes it's like you want to do something and there's so many like unknowns, you know, and so having someone like this is extremely important.
Yeah, absolutely.
On top of the internal drive, obviously you have the internal drive, and sometimes, you know, there's people that just want to prove other people wrong, but
Yeah.
like even for me, like, you know, I had so much support from my wife, especially I was starting, like we started completely broke. And, you know, I was trying different things. They were like risky, you know, at that point, like I didn't know if those things would work out. Even if we got into e-commerce, started to put all of my money there. And like, I didn't have like 100% confidence. I mean, I had confidence that at some point it will work out, but I didn't have like, you know, because people sometimes, it's like, is this guaranteed? Or people even join like mentorships. And it's like, is this guaranteed? I mean, the only thing guaranteed in life is like death and taxes, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
definitely the tax part. Yeah.
and so,
Uncle Sam needs his payment ASAP.
yeah, exactly. So it's something that so important to have those people in your circle, like at least one person that believes. Initially, anything like you want to get in business, it might sound like a crazy idea because you don't have proof of concept.
Right.
And then also if you share it with people that are not on the same wavelength, maybe they don't have those similar ambitions in their life, they might be like, what are you talking about? You want to start a business? You know?
Yeah.
So then they start talking you out of it.
Yeah.
So for that reason, to counterbalance, like at
Well,
least
I'd say it's very intimidating. Like that's one thing I've actually done a poor job highlighting. My mom, she believed. I'll give her that. Like I really want to say my mom really believed in me because of the effort putting in. But my social circle resented the crap out of it. I mean, they just shit all over it because it's very intimidating, right? Because it's like, okay, this guy he was by far the lowest economic standing growing up and even currently, but he's doing something that he's saying he's going to retire by 30, and we're going to college and we're like 80 K, 80, 90, 100, whatever K in debt, or our parents are paying for it. And it's like, and it just really pushes against their belief system too, because they think they're going on the best path, but they know I'm not getting out of this till I'm 65. And this is my only career path until then, because I'm in so much debt. I have to use this degree to leverage that skill to pay this off. So they realize how stuck they are. Versus you're over here like, yeah, I'm going to leave at 30. I'm going to just do whatever. I can outsource a lot of it. I can choose what I want to work on. I can play to my strengths here. And so they don't, it goes against their beliefs so much. It's like, yeah, no, this can't be true. Because it's like, how could this guy be in this worse, right? I actually look at it as a pro because you have way, way more to prove and way more motivation to get there. But you challenge their beliefs so much that, like I said, they don't want you to pull it off. But there's something else. I'm just trying to figure out exactly what I'm trying to say in terms of like that social circle thing. But long story short, yeah, like those friends, they'll completely drag you down, especially if you consider them friends and you don't know any better. Kind of like this, like the snake in the grass, so to speak, and you just like roll with it, and you think like, oh yeah, because it'll eat your, especially when you have that first like blimp of inspiration. You're like, oh, this kind of can work. This might actually be real. Like I can really get in this. I can really get into this and make a difference in life. And then you had that like negative pushback from people you actually like really love. Like I actually love these guys, and it can really push you in the wrong direction if you're not completely dead set serious on doing it. But I think, and that's another thing, is I put myself in positions where there was absolutely zero chance to go back. Like no way can we fall back on this. Like when I
burn the bridges.
Oh, completely. Like complete. That actually is one thing I want to emphasize very heavily, is that I think everything that I've done to get me here is I just push myself against a wall, and I have to push back. I have to get myself past this point. And what I mean by that is like when I quit my job to pursue the online coaching thing, I just quit my job. Like I worked sales on the weekend, and I calculated it to be just enough money to pay like insurance, gym, like just basic stuff to live. And that's exactly what it was, because I was like, if I'm this hungry and I'm going to like, if I'm this hungry, I'm going to make it work. And it did, and it didn't work there. It didn't work in the car thing, but it was like putting myself against the wall. I just never could quit. And I was like, eventually something's going to give. And it did, which is this, right? But in leaving that friend group, but what I'm saying is staying on the path almost leads you into this new friend group. It's like you just naturally separate from these people. And then you start being in environments and rooms and like you start to interact with people that are on the same path, and you just naturally pull away from them. Yeah.
I want to talk about your e-commerce journey. So you mentioned 2023, you made $30,000 in sales.
Correct.
For the whole year?
Whole year.
Wow.
All organic.
Wow.
Because I was going to try to leverage my skill set from the whole coaching thing to go and promote the product organically all through Meta. And I did YouTube at the very end, but it was very inconsistent. Like at best, you would have one that spikes and then drops and then spikes and then drops. And the biggest thing with the organic too is that you can't just blast promotion all the time. You have to like nurture. You have to have that audience. That you have to have a relationship to the audience. So even all the effort you're putting in, maybe in just a small percentage of that is going to be sales related. So it's a very drawn out process to just build the business and promote the product and like actually create income much less consistently. Just think about it. If you're only posting the product once or twice a week, I mean, what's the likelihood that's going to take off to have enough sales to really get you in the right direction for that whole week? And it's like your audience size is much smaller too. So the likelihood of sales, it's very limited, and you don't have nearly as much control, I've found, as paid media.
And how has your perspective on e-commerce changed since you joined, our community? It's like what you were doing before 2023, right? Obviously very like organic, no paid ads at all, right?
I did once. Oh, I should bring that up. Okay, so there was 1 month. I was like, I'm going to just run ads and see what happens. Because I kept thinking this traffic thing, like I just don't have enough traffic. I can't promote enough. I'll burn my audience out, right? So then I was just starting to like throw Hail Marys because I'm like, something's going to give. I've been doing this for over a year and something's going to give. And I ran my 3 best organic pieces on Facebook. And I mean, I mutilated this campaign. Like I look back at it, I just opened it up a couple of days ago and I had like, I want to say it was like over a dozen interests in like the ad set level, and it was just insane to look back at that. But nonetheless, it actually did get some sales. I mean, it wasn't like actually at that time. Now I'm kind of desensitized to it, but I don't want to underestimate. Like I had 30K in like a year, right? And at that point, it was like 20-some thousand, and then in 1 month, it was like 10K, like just out of nowhere because of the ads. And I was like, this is insane. Like this is the traffic issue. But I had a mentor at that time. Another one that was teaching me this whole like audience building for e-com thing. And he was like, no, you don't want to do ads. Like I wouldn't recommend to go that route. Like he was like, you need to get on Amazon and like build your email list, right? Because that was the whole thing. And I was like, okay. Because I looked at him as an authority figure. I looked at him as a coach, and I had no other experience to say this is the wrong thing to do. And I ended up not running the ads again, and went on for like another 6 months following what he was saying. And then that was...
Were ads profitable at that point?
They actually were.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they actually were, which is crazy. And I mean, I just used YouTube like knowledge to get it up, but they were profitable. Yeah, nothing crazy, but they were. And then, so the question was how did my viewpoint change working with you guys? So it was a lot of traffic, right? And it was like learning direct response, because before it was like all about audience building and building a relationship, yada yada. Versus now it's like you see buying psychology from a different way. It's more along the lines of like people actually have very hot burning issues, like problems and pains, right? And you're like, they're gonna buy something. Like they're gonna try to fix it somehow. It's just the question of, is your product a good fit for them? And what's the quality of the product what's the value the product's gonna provide? And now I almost look at it in terms of like, I really stand hard on the fact I have a fantastic product, right? So I'm like, I look at it as a duty. Like I need to help these people get the product they need, because if they keep wasting money and they keep like failing and this problem gets worse and worse and worse, I almost look at it as like an evil thing to not show them your product and not promote the product, because it's like these people have pain once again, they need a solution. So why not be the one that steps up and they're like, hey, I have the solution. How would you like this? And then they have, it's capitalism. They have the option to take it or not. And that's a big thing that's changed for me is like I see product, like direct response, just selling the product as a very, in a way, kind thing to do if you really think it's a fantastic product. Because with the whole organic thing, I felt like it was I looked at like direct response as like very transactional. Like I felt like it would be way too blunt, pushy. Yeah. But then I realized like people, they buy products for a reason, and that reason is for them a selfish reason of I have an issue, I need to solve it. And that's the biggest thing is the difference in like I can help people with this product, help them. And then another big thing is how fast you can get things moving. Like you can, with the right mentorship, you can really get things moving in the right direction. I almost want to say I'll go back and like do it over again, but at the same time I don't, because it did teach me a massive amount of lessons. And if I didn't have that many reps in knowing my audience, knowing my market, literally creating over like 1,000 creatives, I don't know if that would push the trajectory of what I'm doing now this quickly, because I wouldn't have all these previous skill sets. Versus you guys, I stepped in with you guys joining BBA, and you guys taught a lot of exact implementation. Because I was kind of all over the place with skills. I didn't know where they fit. So having guys, if you join BBA, you're like ESS, like this guy literally has step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like you literally just follow the steps, and it's exact step by step. So having that type of structure really allowed me to put those skill sets in the right position and then just take things moving forward. Like just take them straight vertical, because there's no guesswork, right? Actually learning
the important thing you just mentioned, right? And I think it's worth mentioning the steps that you did with market research. So you did it with you met your customers in person, the people who were buying the products. You were getting like feedback from them.
Yeah.
And all of that can be facilitated over the internet, right? You don't have to be in the same city, in the same place. You can just give your customers a call, ask them about what problems they have, how they're currently fixing it, how they see the product, what could be better about the product. So all of the data could be gathered, right? Either in person or remotely, over the phone, through messages. But most people just try to skip this step. They just want to find a random product, try to grow the product, without truly understanding how they can, talk to that customer in the language that they understand. Like Marek, for example, his presentation, he was so deep, and we had a kind of separate conversation with him about this too. He would read books on the topic that he was selling. He would go to forums. He would use ChatGPT to consolidate all the information from the internet, summarize it, learn as much as he humanly can about his customer and the problem that they have, and how he could communicate that problem to them in their language, right? So, for example, if let's say you're 21, I'm in my 30s, and if we're selling products to people that are like 35, 45, 65, sometimes plus, those people might explain the problem that they have, that they're trying to solve, in a different language than we would. And so the only way that you would know how to explain the problem you're solving and the benefits your product delivers is to talk to those people or get that information, from forums and just do that research. But most people just bypass this stage. And I found that with our most successful clients that they don't skip this stage. They're very heavy on really understanding the problem they're solving, how to talk to their customers, because that really amplifies their marketing. Because most people are just kind of so surface level, they're trying to be so generic and appeal to everyone, versus real understanding the pain points and explaining them in a clear way.
Yeah, Myron, man, that guy's a whole nother level. And yeah, when it comes to the market research, do you recommend for people to go talk to their customer directly? Because I think that helps me significantly. Seeing them face to face, because you see the language they use is it's much different a lot of times than what you would expect. And when you're in that environment constantly, it almost just becomes instantaneous on what you know how to talk. You know what to talk about almost instantaneously, because they'll bring up their issue that they're trying to solve over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. And it's like, there's ways to facilitate it over the phone. If you have the possibility to meet your clients in person, ask them questions. I think that's even better. But as a bare minimum, at least, talking to your customers on the phone, seeing, how they explain the problem in their own words, so that you can use their own words to communicate the problem you're solving and the benefits of your products a lot more, relatable to them. So yeah, that's one of the, probably one of the biggest things. I think that differentiates, people that kind of, just dabbling with business and they're going from one product to another, because they never go deep on one niche, one product, one customer that they can serve. They just jump from one thing to another because they're looking for a shortcut.
Right. Do you think that's one of the biggest reasons people don't see success? Because they think it's like, oh, it's a saturated product.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah, you nailed it. You nailed it. Yes.
Yeah.
They say it's saturated, but it's only saturated because their marketing is so surface level.
Yeah.
They don't really understand the problem they're solving. They're trying to push the product, and now their product is not even differentiated. If their product is not very differentiated from other people, sometimes, for Marek, like for instance, his product is not very differentiated from what other people are selling. Like almost anyone can get the product on Alibaba. But the way he communicates the value of his product, the way his marketing message resonates with people, has allowed him to build a $100 million business.
And he even said that during the event yesterday. He was like, a lot of you guys have ripped my content, but you're not where I'm at. So that says something.
Yeah.
And I love that because it really does show either his skill set or his understanding or something is a huge differentiating factor, and it's not the product.
Yeah. And it has to be one of ideally, if you have both, if you have a phenomenal product, and on top of that, if you understand your customers, so that's why, very confident, this will be a massive business. If you have an amazing product that's differentiated, and then you have amazing marketing on top of that to amplify that product, that's like or at least if you don't have a differentiated product, then you have to be a very good marketer.
Yeah.
And being a good marketer means really understanding who you're selling product to.
Yeah.
And really understanding the language they speak, how they explain, the problem they have. And so it's one of two. Ideally, if you have two, that's like when the business explodes.
A big thing that I learned from this event is having a good product makes everything easier. I mean, everything. Your repeat purchase rate, the presentation of the product. Like, people get excited to have your product. Like, that was, what was that guy's name?
Coconut?
Yeah.
Ignacio?
Yeah. Man, that guy, we got to talk one-on-one. I mean, he really emphasized, like, listen to the customer. Like, because I was asking about product innovation, like how do you innovate the product if it's already a good fit, but it can be better? He's like, just call people that have already ordered it. Just call and listen. Like, make a sheet of everything that they say, tally it up, have exact quotes, have everything, and really think, like, how can I make this product? Like, are they giving you exact features that can change, or are they giving you like broader things that they, like, maybe it's like uncomfortable or whatever it is, if you like sell clothing or whatever. But just listen to them and really make the product a grand slam product. And I mean, the offer, that's another thing I learned from the CRO guys, is like your offer is the highest lever you can pull with CRO. So, I mean, if your product is great, then that's a huge foot in the door, right? So one thing that I think I really took away is just really have a good product. Really, really do your best to just have a phenomenal product that people can't get anywhere else. Because that was another thing that Ignacio, right?
Ignacio.
That a quote that he said that stuck with me is, the more differentiated you are, the safer you are in the market, right? Because then people can only get it from you.
Yeah.
And then at that point, I would assume a lot of word of mouth and like just brand reputation builds up, and then that cuts down customer acquisition costs and things of that nature. Once again, making everything significantly easier.
Yeah, and he has over 50% repeat purchase rate.
I know. That guy's insane.
This is crazy.
Have you seen that before?
No, it's very rare. It's he's probably in top like 1% of all like e-commerce businesses. Obviously, the product category has to do with it, but also the continuous focus on just, what other products we can bring to those customers, how we can improve the existing products that we have based on customers' feedback, that allowed him to get to those numbers, which is something anyone can do. It's just one of those things that takes more time. How much time did it take you to develop your product, to build like?
Months.
1 month?
No, months.
Many months.
Many.
Yeah.
Like, couple, like maybe 4. Yeah, about 4.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's still like I can't wait to get home because now I know of all these like I know exactly what I need to do to even bring it even further, and I'm willing to invest that much time again if necessary.
Yeah.
Because I really, like I said, I think of it as like almost a compassionate thing. Like if I sell you something, I want it to fix your issue. Like I don't want to sell an empty promise and be like, yeah, this didn't fulfill. I want you to be like this under promised, over delivered, right? And I think because I've always looked at it as like building a brand, and I kind of look at brand as like reputation, right? So my reputation, like these guys build amazing products. Like it's not going to be matched anywhere else, anywhere I go. And it kind of just keeps you in a vacuum. Like it puts you in a vacuum because it's like these guys it just makes your marketing much easier, but it makes your product and brand perception much higher, which is really like what I aim for when I make a product is like, I want it to be the best, undoubtedly, hands down. It can't be matched.
When you mentioned about like you shot over 1,000 creatives, so were those like how did you do you get some inspiration about creatives? Like what's your process with like coming up with ideas on what creatives to shoot? How do you shoot them? I know that you're personally present in many of your ads, and that's something that we had this client in the community. His name is Paul Nicholas. He's doing like 4 or 5 million a month, and he's one of his best performing ads like ever was the ad that he shot himself. He was like, it was a product for a pain relief, and he was like doing the product, using the product himself. This was one of his best, ads that he ever shot. Another client of ours, Andrew Payne, he's living in Miami now. He's doing about last year he did 55 million, and he also one of his first like best performing ads were the ads that he shot himself. And so,
why do you think that is?
What do you mean?
Like, what do you think there's a direct correlation between like founders and them creating that like correlates to heavy business growth?
I think they're just more hands-on. I think they kind of these entrepreneurs that are successful, like for example with Mark, until recently he was writing his own copy. He's still very good at it. He can probably compete on a very high level with his copywriters on his team. I think that helps a lot. And he really understands the products that he's selling. I think that helps a lot. Initially, you just get it done, right? Like, so people would say, oh, it's like you have to send it to creator, you have to wait for, so much time, right?
That's
like
so much lag.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
You just get it done.
That would drive me wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. But do you think they get it done the right way? Do you think that's what it is? Because like I it's kind of like any product I make, whether it's a creative, a product, a email flow, or whatever, like I have to see too that it holds a high standard of quality. So do you think that's something that founders, that's why their ads do good when they're in them?
I think it's they do the research, they understand who they're selling to, and then they're just like they just want to ship it, and in order to do that, they're making these ads themselves. And so I think that's very obviously it has to kind of like appeal. Like if you're, let's say, selling product for women, and you're a man, it will be harder to sell the product, right? So you have to use some ladies, some actors, or some UGC creators. But if there is a match between yourself as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, and the product that you're selling, then you should be just shipping. You should be just like testing different concepts, recording different scripts. It will just like save you so much time, and also will give you like feedback loops very fast so you can adjust.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to be on the same page, when I meant creatives, I meant like organic. But I didn't join BBA and make 1,000 ads in 2.5 months. I mean,
so these are organic pieces that you shot.
Yes,
but that gave you the reps.
But the ads are hitting hard. Like I don't know my exact win rate on ads like right off the top of my head. I mean, I would say somewhere like 40% hit rate.
Oh wow!
I think, and I mean, it's just like I'm new to it, but I'm new to the whole direct response. But I made a lot of creatives, so I think I kind of just know like. At first, I knew the editing style and like the pace and how fast engagement it has to be, and I would script a lot of my stuff too, my organic. I would script a lot of it, so I was good with scripting and like understanding where to like lighting a little bit better, just basic stuff, like foundational stuff. But I think that's really what also allowed me to get things moving a little bit faster, because a lot of those skill sets were already pre-made. It's just learning how to apply it in a direct response format. And being somewhat of a perfectionist. Like I can't stand not doing something to a very high standard. So it's like when I'm on the camera, I have to have the right tonality, energy, outfit, all that stuff.
For sure. What's your like process with ads? Do you use any like types of campaigns? Like what's working for you? Like ABO, CBO, cost caps, bid caps, like on a more like technical level? Or you just focus mostly on the creative side and just keep everything
I'm
simple?
not really technical on the media buying stuff. I mean, I'm not like really heavy on the technicality. Whatever they teach step by step in BBA, I still watch that exact same video and I upload. Yeah.
Because you mentioned, one of the things you mentioned is one of the days you went from $3,000 a day to $13,000 a day or something like that.
Oh yeah.
And that is only possible if you get your foundations right. If your creative is good. If your creative is not good, like, and you try to scale it, it will just, it will be unprofitable. You cannot scale something that doesn't resonate with the market that fast.
Yeah, the ads. Yeah, I did the triple scale for like one day with half my ads, and it just went insane. Because I just, my manufacturing situation. Like I'm pretty capped there, but yeah, seeing that, it's a huge inspiration to get the ads right. Because with me being new to direct response, I hear a lot of like guys that are more seasoned in it. Like you've been in ecom for how long?
Oh, probably like 8 years now.
Yeah, so you've been at it 8 years. I mean, you've seen, from what I understand, Facebook was a lot more like mechanical, where you could pull more strings and the creatives didn't matter as much. So when I was finding that out and the guys were like, yeah, you have to have fantastic creatives, I'm like, I don't know media buying at all. So I have to play to my strengths and get the creative great. But I would say I know pretty great creative. Like organically, I did pretty good, especially in the, with the fitness organic, right? The whole like selling my product was kind of hard, just because Facebook is not very pro what I have, so it was hard getting past algorithms there. But what was I? Oh yeah, but the creative quality, like I hunker down heavy on it. I really make sure that the edits are very engaging. I really focus on the edits. Make sure that the B-roll is correlated with the script. Make sure that there's captions every part of the way through. Make sure that there's never more than 2 seconds that doesn't have some type of transition change, and make everything like idiot proof. Like click the shop now button with arrow below, that kind of stuff. And I like explain it in very clear, this is what this is. This is exactly how it works. This is the exact benefit. And I try to just cut out anything that is not exactly this and why they should care about it right now. And I think that's helped me a lot with making a decent creative right from the jump.
Yeah, and I think this...
And hooks, very engaging. I call it the what the heck, like the WTF hook is what I call it. It's not like any type of scientific thing behind it. It's just, what can I do to where people are like, what? Like, the what factor, where they just they stop and they just look at it, which I know it's called a scroll stopper, right? But I just really try to emphasize, what am I going to do to capture that attention? Like where their brain just like salivates over what's this kid doing right now? Yeah.
And I think this is like what you just outlined. I think what differentiates you from like most people. A lot of people, they don't go deeper like into like at least understanding the video structure, like the editing part you explained. The captions throughout the whole video, right? Very like stupid proof, kind of like, okay, click here, arrows, right? Like very something self-explanatory that people like understand and know what to do. Matching the B-roll with whatever the caption is on screen, so it's kind of like makes sense what's being shown. And so all of those things are necessary to understand. A lot of people, like even in our community, they get initial momentum with a business. Oh, I want to hire a video editor, right? And I'm like, okay, do you understand, how the videos should be structured? Do you understand kind of, the sequencing, the editing, how to make it more dynamic? And they don't. And so now they're trying to hire someone without truly understanding, the foundational things. And I think that's one of the mistakes. And most of the times what happens is they to try to hire someone, and the person doesn't deliver because, they might get lucky and find someone who really understands that. But most of the times they would hire someone who doesn't understand it, the ads wouldn't work, and then they would be forced to go and learn it themselves. But if they would just go and learn it themselves, at least like on a basic level, they don't have to edit videos. I think it's an advantage if you know how to do that. But at least understanding how the videos should be structured, what's the most important elements of the ad, what are the things that need to be in place in order for ad to convert. And only then they can outsource, because now they can give feedback to their video editor that they brought. Okay, so this part here, you have to put whatever, right? Like this part here doesn't match, right? So they can give the feedback to their video editors, so the ads can actually convert. And so I think bypassing those stages, kind of like where you didn't learn something and you try to outsource it from day one, it's something that is
a nightmare. Would you say that a strong correlation to successful brands is the owner being hands-on, especially in the beginning?
100%.
Like the smaller, the more hands-on he needs to be.
Understanding different parts of the business, what's important in different parts, understanding, payment processing, understanding, the creatives, understanding the funnels, understanding average order value, understanding offer, understanding all of these parts that make a business successful, understanding the product, understanding how to differentiate the product, understanding sourcing. And they don't have to do all of that, right? But it's like at least like understanding on a good level what are the moving parts and what could be the possible constraints is something that differentiates successful entrepreneurs in my experience.
Mm-hmm. And I will say, having that video editing, I just got a video editor because video editing takes a lot of time. Like if you're doing like a good edit, like I'm not kidding, and I work very hard whenever I edit, it probably takes me, no joke, like 8 to 10, maybe even 12 hours to get my edit done.
Oh, wow. For one video?
One video.
Oh, wow.
But I mean, they hit good.
Yeah.
Because how I look at it is like, okay, would I want to skip out on this part of the video, or would I want to X, Y, Z? Like, if this is the one that hits, wouldn't I want the best quality? Like, if this is the one that's going to be my winning act, because you don't know if they're winning until they're winning. Right?
Yeah.
Until they're launched and there's money behind it. So I look at it like, okay, if I'm going to put money behind this and there's a potential for it to really take off, wouldn't I want the highest potential to take off and my time to actually be returned from just putting in a little bit more effort and actually getting it to go in the right direction, right? Because that's how I'm a very optimistic kind of guy. So I would look at it like, okay, I wouldn't make this script. I wouldn't record this script. I wouldn't put all this effort into it if I didn't think it had a very high probability of winning. So I just I put everything from the script all the way to the editing to the publishing. Like, this is the winner, and I'm gonna put everything in the right direction to make it the winner. Right. So even editing, it takes a long time. Like, I mean, we're talking like day plus, right? I mean, 12 hours is like a full day of work, right? And then like the next day, I normally don't publish it right when I finish it because I watch it back the next day when my mind's fresh, and I'm like, okay, we can change this, or okay, this is going to be a killer, and then launch it from there. But I think that's a big thing, is just taking the quality all the way through. Like, do everything that is worth doing, do it with quality. Like, look at it like this is the winner. Like, if you look at everything like this is the winner, you put the effort in a little bit differently. You look at things a little bit differently, and you're willing to see it all the way through. You're willing to see it all the way through. That's what I'm getting to. And the quality outcome, and the work itself becomes more fulfilling. Because it's not like, oh, I'm just going to throw this thing up and see what works. It's like, I'm going to really hunker down on this. And then when you do publish your ad and you're showing your brand and your face on there, you're like, people are going to perceive this as a high quality brand. Because from day one, from the minute they see an ad, it's a very high quality professional looking at it. And that's the presence I want all the way through whenever somebody finds my company.
Awesome. Austin, thank you so much. So many great insights. I highly recommend for you guys watching, rewatch it, because there's so many like nuggets that you dropped that you just built such a great foundation for your brand to just continuously scale, because you've been working on these foundations for a long time. You've been doing the hard things that most people just skip. So I highly recommend to rewatch this interview, like send it through ChatGPT, extract the biggest insights from it, because you really spilled the golden nuggets that
Thank you.
differentiates successful entrepreneurs for the ones that are not.
Thank you. And guys, one last thing I do want to say is that like get a coach, like get a damn coach. Like you're like, yeah, you might be smart, you might be intellectual, but you're gonna waste so much time not having the right guy guiding you. Like if it wasn't you and your team guiding me, I don't know how many years in lost profit and money and revenue, everything that I could have lost doing it the wrong way. Right. So like get a coach. Like it will be, if there's just one thing, like you need a good coach. Like join it, like if there's a link below, click the link. Like I don't, like seriously, like it will change your life nearly instantaneously.
Thank you, Austin.
Yeah.
Thank you, my man.
Yeah. But put the work in though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Put the work in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, my man. And I'm looking forward to having another conversation with you at 1 million months.
Sounds good.
Next benchmark. Let's make it happen.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, man. Have a great one.